Hi, my name is Emily Melgarejo, and today I'm going to be talking about the 2006 Salmonella typhimurium outbreak that was linked to tomatoes. This is an important public health case because it shows big problems with how we track food in the United States. Step 1 is the background information. This outbreak made 183 people sick across 21 states in the U.S., and there were also a few cases connected to Canada. Most patients were located east of the Mississippi River, and the median age was 34 years old, and around 57% of patients were women. Even though no deaths were reported, 22 people were still hospitalized, showing that salmonella infections can still become serious for some individuals. Most people became sick during a short period between mid-September and early October 2006. That pattern helped investigators realize there was likely one common exposure source rather than unrelated cases happening at different times. Symptoms usually included fever and diarrhea and often lasted around a week. Through the investigation, tomatoes eaten at restaurants were identified as the likely source of the outbreak. Step 2 is situation analysis. Officials had to figure out where the tomatoes came from without hurting the whole tomato industry. The strength was that lab technology called PulseNet could match cases across states using DNA. The weakness was that tomatoes from many farms were mixed together, so there was no way to find the original source. The opportunity was to build a better trafficking system, and the threat was the panic could hurt farmers who did nothing wrong. Step 3 is the root cause. The bacteria probably started on the farm through water, soil, or animals, but once the tomatoes were mixed in with tomatoes from other farms, investigators lost the trail. Then at restaurants, slicing tomatoes in large batches and not keeping them cold enough made things worse. The main issue was that there was no way to trace food back to one place. My step 4 looks at two alternatives. The first is requiring farmers to follow specific rules to keep their farms clean and safe. The second is training restaurant workers on how to handle raw produce safely. To connect this to a public health model, the socio-ecological model shows us that we need solutions at every level, from what individual workers do in the kitchen all the way up to national FDA policy. Step 5 is my two main recommendations. First, require every box of tomatoes to have a QR code so we can find where it came from within hours instead of weeks. My second recommendation would require restaurants to treat sliced tomatoes as a food that needs careful temperature control, kept cold at or below 41 degrees with records that health departments can check. Step 6 is the action plan for the QR tracking recommendation. Some of the responsible parties would be the FDA, the Produce Marketing Association, and third-party auditors. The FDA would oversee the process, the Produce Marketing Association would help train the industry, and third-party auditors would check compliance. In the first 3 months, we would build the system, and months 4 through 9, we could test the system with major restaurant chains, and by month 12, it could be required for all tomato shipments across state lines. The goal here would be to cut traceback time from weeks to just under 24 hours. Step 7 is my conclusion. I am comparing the 2006 tomato outbreak to the 2009 alfalfa sprout outbreak. Both were salmonella outbreaks linked to produce and both affected multiple states. However, one major difference is that in 2009, investigators were able to trace the contaminated sprouts back to a specific seed lot, Lot 032, from one grower. In the 2006 case, officials could not trace the tomatoes back to a single farm. This is because tomatoes from different places were mixed together during distribution. That made it just that much harder to stop the outbreak quickly and identify exactly where contamination started. The 2009 outbreak showed that better tracking systems and data collection can help health officials respond faster and potentially even prevent more illnesses. My opinion is that the 2006 case was a kind of a wake-up call. It showed that our food safety system is only as strong as our ability to trace food back to its source. When that information is missing, it can delay investigations and even affect public health outcomes. These are my 3 references, all in APA format. Thank you so much for listening.